The Female Solution Global Radio TV Show invites you to an invigorating conversation with our team of hosts Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time. Start your week with Monday Morning Mindfulness with Zelda Speaks. Tuesdays, Self-Cell Care with Jody Susan. Wednesdays, Repairing Broken Families with Naima Latif and co-host Kareem Hamid. Thursdays, Soulful Solutions with Dr. Debbie Green. And Fridays, Health and Wellbeing with Beata. Saturdays, tune in 12 noon to 2 p.m. Central Time. First Saturday, Success Strategies with Jana. Second Saturday, Wendy Williams Esquire on relationships. Third Saturday, Move Around with Deborah. And fourth Saturday, Wisdom with Mama D. Join us Sundays, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time for Soul Purpose Healing with Beata. Call in and comment 515-605-9325. Press 1 to speak to the host and be a part of the solution. The Female Solution Global Radio TV Show invites you to an invigorating conversation with our team of hosts Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time. Start your week with Monday Morning Mindfulness with Zelda Speaks. Tuesdays, Self-Cell Care with Jody Susan. Wednesdays, Repairing Broken Families with Naima Latif and co-host Kareem Hamid. Thursdays, Soulful Solutions with Dr. Debbie Green. And Fridays, Health and Wellbeing with Beata. Saturdays, tune in 12 noon to 2 p.m. Central Time. First Saturday, Success Strategies with Jana. Second Saturday, Wendy Williams Esquire on relationships. Third Saturday, Move Around with Deborah. And fourth Saturday, Wisdom with Mama D. Join us Sundays, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time for Soul Purpose Healing with Beata. Call in and comment 515-605-9325. Press 1 to speak to the host and be a part of the solution. And Grand Rising. Thank you all for joining us on this first day of the year, our January 1st New Year's presentation. And we're looking forward to an invigorating conversation. We'll be joined at 12 o'clock live from London with our first Saturday host, Jana. And we invite you to call in 515-605-9325. Press 1 when you're ready to speak. And we will certainly add you to this invigorating conversation. We want you to be a part of the solution. And we're kicking off this particular New Year's Day with the theme for the year, Global Push for Peace. And we are looking forward to an invigorating conversation as well as some presentations. And our guest joining us at the 12 o'clock hour will be Princess Ikenade Akorede. So we'll be back in just one moment. And as we give a chance for our sisters of the microphone to join us live, we want to take a look at a global push for peace in 2022. And one of the important things that make this push possible is the participation of each individual in expressing that which is going to be a part of their own lives in this global push for peace. So we ask you to call in at our 12 o'clock hour, 515-605-9325, and press 1 to speak to our host who will be joining us live from London. And we also will be joined by a number of people and presentations from other countries as we look at how our global economy is impacting our push for peace. So we'll be back in just one moment. So stick and stay. Don't stray away. The Female Solution Global Radio TV Show invites you to an invigorating conversation with our team of hosts Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time. Start your week with Monday Morning Mindfulness with Zelda Speaks. Tuesdays, Self-Cell Care with Jody Susan. Wednesdays, Repairing Broken Families with Naima Latif and co-host Kareem Hamid. Thursdays, Soulful Solutions with Dr. Debbie Green. And Fridays, Health and Wellbeing with Beata. Saturdays, tune in 12 noon to 2 p.m. Central Time. First Saturday, Success Strategies with Jana. Second Saturday, Wendy Williams Esquire on relationships. Third Saturday, Move Around with Deborah. And fourth Saturday, Wisdom with Mama D. Join us Sundays, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time for Soul Purpose Healing with Beata. Call in and comment 515-605-9325. Press 1 to speak to the host and be a part of the solution. The Female Solution Global Radio TV Show invites you to an invigorating conversation with our team of hosts Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time. Start your week with Monday Morning Mindfulness with Zelda Speaks. Tuesdays, Self-Cell Care with Jody Susan. Wednesdays, Repairing Broken Families with Naima Latif and co-host Kareem Hamid. Thursdays, Soulful Solutions with Dr. Debbie Green. And Fridays, Health and Wellbeing with Beata. Saturdays, tune in 12 noon to 2 p.m. Central Time. First Saturday, Success Strategies with Jana. Second Saturday, Wendy Williams Esquire on relationships. Third Saturday, Move Around with Deborah. And fourth Saturday, Wisdom with Mama D. Join us Sundays, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time for Soul Purpose Healing with Beata. Call in and comment 515-605-9325. Press 1 to speak to the host and be a part of the solution. And we want to share with you some of the information that will, in fact, impact our decisions this 2022. As we look at the global push for peace And if we are ready to take advantage of some of the things that have already been done, we want to be connected to those who are having an impact and making a difference. So we're going to share with you, see if we can bring in our visuals. I'm going to share with you some of the work that's being done by some of the peace organizations around the world. So take a look at this presentation by Let's see if we can give you a visual image here. And this is a presentation by women who have formed an organization, Women Peace Power. And they're presenting 20 years of the UNSCR 1325. One of the things that affect global peace is the economic state of women, and often women who are left out of the equation. So we're going to share this with you. Let's see. And all right. And this presentation gives us an opportunity to think about how we are all connected, are impacted by what's happening abroad. We definitely do feel the effects of our policies, our government policies. And we feel the effects of what happens when our governments don't cooperate with each other. And we see the effects of when our governments cause harm abroad. So we have to take responsibility. And we want you to see this. Wait a minute. All right, let me see. So we're having some issues with sharing the screen. So we're going to have to share the audio for until we can correct that. So listen carefully.
For 2,500 years of human diplomatic history, war and peace especially was negotiated by a handful of exclusive political and military elite men.
It was the women's movement who came to the UN headquarters and said, we would like a resolution whereby women must be part and parcel of peace negotiation, peace building, and making sure that wars end.
There is a straight line between violence against women, civil oppression, and conflict. Trillions of dollars are spent every year on peace and security, but we should be asking whose peace and whose security.
The correlation between gender inequality and a society propensity for civil interstate conflict is now well established. The link between participation of women and more durable peace has also been established, and yet we still live in a world that tolerates and excuses women's continued exclusion from peace and political processes and institutions.
تجربتنا العراقية أثبتت أن النساء كن أقدر على صنع السلام من الرجال. أنتم تعرفون الأطراف المتنازعة أكثرهم رجال، وعندما يجلسون للتفاوض لا يريد أحد أن يتنازل للآخر. نحن نهتم أكثر بنزع السلاح، أن يكون البلد مستقر، لكن المكسب الأكبر هو إحلال السلام.
Mr. President, Your Excellencies, women are not passive victims of this war. They have been leading efforts to bring peace to Yemen and hold communities together with limited resources.
There is evidence that when women participate in peace processes, it's actually more likely that you come to an agreement. When women had a stronger involvement during the negotiation process, they were able to bring more issues to the table.
بالنظر إلى الدور المحوري للمرأة في العمل من أجل السلام والتنمية ولتعزيز حقوق الإنسان وفي تقديم المساعدة الإنسانية للمجتمعات المحتاجة، لا يوجد عذر لعدم الحصول على مقاعد متساوية على كل طاولة.
As the pandemic took hold, I called for a global ceasefire. Today, I appeal for a new push by the international community to make this a reality by the end of this year. An inclusive peace process with women meaningfully represented offers the best hope for a sustainable solution.
Une femme a eu le courage de s'engager parmi les signataires de l'accord de paix. C'est une première dans le pays.
Women are, of course, in the military.
Women and girls bear the brunt
We've seen.
of conflict. The inequalities that women are subjected to are exacerbated during conflict.
For 2,500 years, war and peace especially was negotiated by a handful of exclusive political and military elite men.
The first paragraph calls for the immediate cessation of hostilities.
It was the end of the Cold War, a period in the 90s where we were beginning to look at the world from a standpoint of human security.
The women's movement came to UN headquarters and said, we would like a resolution whereby women must be part and parcel of peace negotiation, peace building, and making sure that wars end.
In October 2000, we were to chair the sessions of the Security Council. We decided to introduce an agenda item on women and peace.
There was resistance in the Security Council, there was resistance out of the Security Council, but the overwhelming majority of members were in support.
31st of October 2000, the Security Council recognized for the first time the role that women have been playing.
Those in favor, please raise their hand. The draft resolution has been adopted unanimously as Resolution 1325.
1325 really brought to light the need for women to play an important role in participation, in negotiation, in preventing conflict.
1325 in many ways is saying that not only women have the right to come to the negotiating table, they should be present. They must be present.
It was always a collaboration between civil society, the UN, and government. Civil society on its own couldn't have gotten this resolution, and the governments and the UN wouldn't have gotten it.
When women are involved, they make a real difference.
Más podemos decir cuál es la necesidad de tener paz. Somos quienes tenemos la vida y los cuerpos marcados por la guerra.
If you exclude more than half of the population in defining the problem and prescribing the solution, you're not going to have stability.
Wherever there's war and violence, women exist. Women have things to tell us. And systematic, structured engagement of women should be standard practice in any international engagement in a conflict area.
And that was UN Women, that video. Some very important points were made, of course, that of when there's an armed conflict, when there is civil unrest, women are the ones who have to somehow survive and take their children along and somehow manage to stay alive. And often women are the ones who get killed, and they're not combatant soldiers. They're trying to protect the lives of their children. So when women have to face the violence of their countries as mothers and as those who are trying to maintain civil relations, it's very stressful, particularly because women are the ones who are seen as vulnerable for attack. So there is all kinds of assault that happens, and this has been historically the case for women. So if we are trying to initiate peaceful solutions between nations, we first look at how the families are affected and how women are disproportionately affected. And when we get the propaganda about how dangerous a particular people are, and we as a nation consent to allow our money to be used to drop bombs, we have to think about how are the women and children going to be affected by that decision, because those are the ones who actually are experiencing the conflict. They're the ones that are experiencing the violence. They're the ones that are experiencing the death, and they're the ones that are experiencing the trauma, even sometimes as they are experiencing being pregnant, and they are in fact carrying children trying to escape attack. There's nothing more traumatic for an unborn child than to feel the vibrations of a mother who is fearing for her life. So this is a difficulty in many war-torn places because women are the ones who end up being killed by soldiers. And we who are raising the flag of patriotism, we're often condoning this extreme violence inflicted toward women and children. We have in our minds whatever bad guys we think look like, but in fact, the ones who are suffering in these conflicts, whatever the country is, it's the women, our sisters. So how do we reach out to our sisters and let them know that we are not in agreement with these conflicts that are occurring? Well, we're going to be talking to Princess Adenike Akorede as we come up to the 12 o'clock hour here in the Midwest. And of course, if you're on the East Coast, it's the 1 o'clock hour. And joining us live from London will be our first Saturday host, Jana, with our guest from Nigeria, Princess Adenike Akorede, who is publisher of the Shekinah International magazine. And we understand that Nigeria, with its 200 million plus population, is one of the wealthiest nations, certainly on that continent, and globally has so much to offer in terms of resources. But with 250 different ethnic groups and 500 languages, it remains a hotspot of conflict. We know that there was an extreme condition, terrorism, that had to be addressed during the administration of Barack Obama, when the girls of Boko Haram, the organization that chose to use terror tactics and kidnap girls from a school in Nigeria. So, as we've said, it's the females who feel the brunt of these conflicts. And when there is a vulnerable population targeted, it is often females. So if we are condoning war, we're condoning attack on females. Why would we want to do that to our sisters who are trying to take care of their children just as we are? So we're going to take a quick break, come back with more information, another video for you, and some of our sisters of the microphone as we do a global push for peace in 2022, preparing for the International Day of Peace, Wednesday, September 21st, 2022. And we'll take a look at how important it is for us to know what is happening in the world, because as this pandemic has shown us, we are all connected. We'll be right back after this quick break. And we'll be right back. Stay with us. The Female Solution Global Radio TV Show invites you to an invigorating conversation with our team of hosts Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time. Start your week with Monday Morning Mindfulness with Zelda Speaks. Tuesdays, Self-Cell Care with Jody Susan. Wednesdays, Repairing Broken Families with Naima Latif and co-host Kareem Hamid. Thursdays, Soulful Solutions with Dr. Debbie Green. And Fridays, Health and Wellbeing with Beata. Saturdays, tune in 12 noon to 2 p.m. Central Time. First Saturday, Success Strategies with Jana. Second Saturday, Wendy Williams Esquire on relationships. Third Saturday, Move Around with Deborah. And fourth Saturday, Wisdom with Mama D. Join us Sundays, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time for Soul Purpose Healing with Beata. Call in and comment 515-605-9325. Press 1 to speak to the host and be a part of the solution. And we are back. You're listening to and watching the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. And we've got the pre-show today as we launch our 2020 Push for Peace, our global push for peace. And of course, at the 12 o'clock hour, we'll be joined live from London with our first Saturday host, Jana, and her guest, Princess Adenike Okorede, publisher of the Shekinah International Magazine. And one of the things that we are looking at is the impact of our efforts locally and globally. So, Deborah, welcome to the show today. We're so excited on this January 1st. Definitely, it's a day for us to launch a campaign. We've said, of course, that this is a campaign because we have to work up to that date when all of us are participating in this effort. Wednesday, September 21st, 2022 is the International Day of Peace. And in that time, we're going to prescribe some activities. Now, we've got a couple of comments here. James Lester says, start local, global peace doesn't work. Well, of course. And he says, global peace movement is a trap. Well, we want to take a look at that thought, because one of the things that affect peace is economics. And Jana is going to talk about global economics, particularly because this is what tends to be the reason why so much conflict exists, when there is a very high disparity between the wealthy and the poor. So we want to share a statement made by Dick Gregory when he was at the World Alliance of Religions for Peace and the 2014 summit. And this is a gathering organized by HWPL, who, of course, we have had as part of our shows over the years, a global peace organization that is headquartered in North Korea. And bear with us, our video feature is having a little difficulty, but we're going to give you the audio of our brother, Dick Gregory. And then we'll discuss some things that he said. So take a listen.
And also a researcher in the
This is on war and peace.
This is Josh with Project Heal Eden. I'm the founder and also a researcher in the project. We'd like to introduce Mr. Dick Gregory, who had a lot to unknowingly say about our project. Dick Gregory is a civil rights leader, an actor, and a comedian.
Thank you very much. I have mixed emotions about my life, because when I was a little boy, my mother, religion, Christian, but she saw nothing wrong with people. It's my mom, feed kid, who buys my Christmas stuff. He saw nothing wrong with it. So I didn't see it. And then I'll go to the movie as a little child. There was no TV when I was born. I'm 85 now. And you would see these electric chair themes. America was fascinated with that. So as a little boy looking at somebody open it up, and in front of him was a priest reading the Bible. And when they take you there, they ask you, can I do anything else for you? I said, no, Father. Well, now after the priest walked me to the electric chair so he could do anything else, I said, come in and hold my hand. So then the embarrassment started. So they decided, wait long. We couldn't use the electric chair. So they give us an injection. Do you know what most folks don't know? That cocktail they give you now in America, the Humane Society banned that for animals 50 years ago. Banned it. Now let me just tell you something interesting. I would love to work to see that America become Humane Society. Any time in America you think of Humane Society, you think of animals. That's scary. Animals. So let me say this. I got to go to a peace rally in Budapest. My ticket is like first class round trip, $29,000. So thank God I'm aware when I get on that plane, my tax money off my ticket goes to the government, and they'll use that to make bombs and guns and drop on women and children around the world. So I am not stupid enough to believe that I'm not dirty. I'm as dirty as the rest of them. At least they know it. When you go to the store and get a gallon, your tax money is spent buying weapons of war. So when it comes back on me, I see my grandchildren and wife and family being burned up. At least I can look up and say, what took you so long? We all are part of this. We just don't know it. We all are part of it. But because I'm not doing as much as so-and-so, I'm doing as so-and-so. Let me tell you what killing do. Napoleon, who had the greatest military machine ever put together at the time. But there were no addresses back then. So how did he recruit? He had a captain with him that was the greatest recruiter of all time. So if you don't recruit for me, if I run a butcher shop and y'all don't send me to slaughter, I'm out of business. So in between wars, he would go out in the wilderness. And if you was 90 years old, physically fit, you was recruited. If you was 20 years old and wasn't, you wasn't. And so he run across this lumberjack. And he says, wow, man, I've never seen a specimen like that. And he was as great as Napoleon. The mythical. And so he said, thank you. He said, now, I'm proud to let you know you're now recruited into Napoleon's army. And the lumberjacks said, oh, no. He said, I'll chop my timber and pay my taxes. And I will leave the kingdom. So the guy thought he was just playing. He said, what the heck? You got to be. And now he's embarrassed in front of his other recruiting buddies that somebody would talk to him like that. So he says, well, you know, to reject being recruited, Napoleon's army, punishment is death. So I'm just telling you, I love France. I would be killed. So the guy is so angry. He said, ready to find squad. Ready, aim. And he looked into this old man's eyes. And for the first time, he saw a human being that could die more beautiful than he ever known somebody could live. And rather than be outdone, he said, cancel the order. And he walked up to him and he said, heat the branding irons. So he took his left hand and put on the tree stump and stamped it in the center of his hand and said, now whether you like it or not, you belong to Napoleon. And the captain got ready to walk away and the old man pulled him and said, come here. He took his side axe off and put his hand and chopped his hand up. As I told you before, I believe in no man but God. Now let me tell you why I'm telling you this story. Eventually the captain went crazy. He couldn't believe it. So he left Napoleon's northern flank open. That's how he got defeated. The real folks knew the story, and that's why the executioner could never look the person in the eyes. That's where the blindfolds came. One man. One man. Okay? And so when you stop and think about it, we all know. See, they make war easy. If the Germans and the Italians was fighting, if both of them took off the uniforms, you wouldn't know how to kill. That's why it's a game. Notre Dame football team, the University of California, they got different uniforms, so you know who to tackle. Right. So that's what the war game is. You see the German uniform, and it's a violation. You just pull that uniform off and put another uniform on. That's the laws that they make. And so when will we as human beings, as human beings, maybe when mother stops spanking you, you hit me, mama. And then one thing I learned too late, I never hit a child of mine. I just got some research showing that yelling at a child is more harmful than hitting them. And hitting them is bad. Yelling at a child, that's the violence, that's what starts. Hey, a little child feel something that go up to their brain. And so I asked my mother one time, Mom, the Bible said thou shalt not kill. Why is it okay to go to war? Well, God said there'll be wars and rumors of war. But that's about to leave now. But that's why what you ought to do is so important. See, nobody tells me. And see, the mistake we make is the people that control it. Every 10 years, you got a new crop coming through. That's why they do all these specials. All these specials. And so somewhere, when you stop and think how your mind is controlled, and that's y'all's job. For instance, I ain't never met a woman growing up when I was a little boy that see a mouse and didn't scream and holler. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Right. And then the real wife come through with the hippest thing ever happened, a computer, and you control it with a mouse and they don't holler. That thing even look like a mouse. So when we understand how they control the brains, and we don't even know that. And so what you all doing, first it have to be with love. Because people can feel it. And you think you can't win? We took on the mightiest nation, military, in the history of the planet, the civil rights movement, with no guns. That's right. And no mean attitude, and won. We did something that all the military powers couldn't come together and do. And finally, I say this. Find me a poor welfare mother anywhere in the world that can't read or write, black or white, that's pregnant. And her 9 months pregnant is over. You cannot bring all the military together and open her legs and keep that baby in. One little fragile woman. Because there's a universal God that said, when my 9 months pregnancy is over, drop that baby for me and death to the mother and the child. It's just simple. When you look at the 9 months, you're looking at evolution that leads into revolution. The first 9 months of gestation is evolution. When that water bag breaks, that's revolution. So y'all have to be the breaking of the water.
So now that was Dick Gregory. We're gonna bring in our host. We want to get your thoughts on some of the things that Dick Gregory spoke about, particularly as
Well, we seem to have lost Naima, but getting thoughts and on what Dick Gregory said, from what I could hear, the audio was a little challenging. I had to put on my headphones. But that last thing he said, evolution begets revolution, and how the mind is controlled by some of the things that we see. For the example, with the mouse, of course, when we see a physical, an animal mouse, yes, I agree with him. I scream. I'm like, there it is. But yet we then have the computer, which we call one of the components of the computer a mouse. So now who came up with that? If just because it looks similar to a mouse, it doesn't look like a mouse.
That is
Not
a
the
thought.
mouses that I've seen. But how mind is controlled by someone else's thought and
Yes.
someone else's being. And it is something that you can really, like, it makes you say, he's got a point. You know, you change that thought process, then things, the way you respond and the way you live could change as well. Now, I wanted to go back to the gentleman that made the statement before we went to Dick Gregory. And I didn't quite understand what he meant when he said, and I believe this is what he said, let's see, that global peace doesn't work unless local peace works. Is that what I'm understanding he was to say?
Let's see. He just posted another comment. Let me pull it up. Maybe
Okay.
elaborate on that. Okay, so he said, and they come up with a attack.
The global peace movement attacked colonists.
A global colonization, major problems that this peace. I mean, that's really what we're coming out of. We're coming out of the effects of colonization and, you know, the thrust for Britain and the try to get a piece of Africa, America, and destroy the indigenous people in the process. All the places that have been colonized, people are striving to the damage to their culture, their health, and a lot of that is where we have the cons. Those are the places
Okay, we're still having technical challenges with Naima, but eh, I just want to know, no matter what your stance is on global peace or local peace, how do we start peace? How do we even start peace within ourselves? I know I've spoken before and said that sometimes I don't get along with myself.
All right, now add in.
There we go. There we go.
So this has been a day, and who knows what is happening with the various internet systems, but we've learned to just keep moving right along.
That's it.
But I think one of the things that we learn is that people aren't going to allow you to dominate them forever. There's always going to be resistance. So even with the United States and its military thrust, which is kind of what Dick Gregory was talking about, you know, when you have a military leader and they think they want to own things and own people, the individual spirit of some people, they know to die. And so many of the resistance movements that we're seeing now is the result of the colonization, the result of people wanting to take on people's land, even the people that are resisting America. And unfortunately, many of the citizens here have no clue that, as Dick Gregory was saying, our tax dollars are going to buy those bombs and kill those people.
That's
We're
right.
responsible. We don't know because we're not paying. So if someone, and you know, of course, we all know the horror of 9/11, but none of us have heard the backstory. And when people are at a point where they just lump everybody together, oh, those people are killing us.
That's right. Those people are the murderers, right? Those people are evil.
Yes. So then you can have a dialogue as to, well, why are you angry? Why is it happening? Why was there an attack? Why was there a counterattack? Why are we at war? What are we fighting about? And nobody ever knows. I have asked so many veterans of war, and they never know what they were really fighting for. Some vague thing about democracy, but they didn't really know.
Yeah, but also we were told things like.
So we're joined now with Jana.
Hi, evening everyone, and Happy New Year.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, Happy New Year.
And happy end of Kwanzaa.
Happy New Year.
Well,
I was just going to say, if you look at things that happen.
Kwanzaa is something that we should live continuously.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just meant this week is the official celebration of Kwanzaa. But yes, you're absolutely right. We should be doing it every day.
Every day.
We should be putting those principles into play every day.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And we could get peace out of that. If we apply those principles, that's a push for peace right there.
Right. Well, I was just going to respond to what you were saying, because the thing is, we're so disconnected from each other. And then we get told lies. If you look at what happened with the Vietnam War, we got told so many lies, right? About why we were bombing these people. Do you know that the amount of bombs we dropped just on Cambodia was more than the force of the 2 atomic bombs in the Second World War?
Yes, that's horrifying.
And this is about connections. I'm just going to say, because we're disconnected from each other. We're not in connection with each other. So we don't even understand what people are doing, what people are fighting for, which is what you just said, Naima. And a powerful way to establish connection is through using NVC, nonviolent communication. So we might talk about that a bit more later on my show. But we need to connect with ourselves first. We each need to connect with ourselves first, and then we can connect with other people, yeah?
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think if we can get people to talk to each other and actually if we can't bring leadership together, then we have to bring the populations together. And this is what I envision how we can use the internet for that tool. Because sometimes you can't get heads of nations together. But if the people can agree, look, this is not my enemy. I'm not going to fight them.
That's it.
You can't make me. Just like the man in the story that Dick Gregory told. If all of the citizens of all of the countries refuse to fight each other, then there can be no war.
That's right.
The
That's
only
what
way
happened
we
in
end
the
up
First
fighting
World
is
War. That's what happened at the end of the first year, 2014, in the First World War. The soldiers put down their arms and they refused to fight. And the British and the Germans gathered together, and they were exchanging presents, they were exchanging gifts, they were singing hymns together. It was
and no matter what your language is, the peace and a process of peace it's worldwide. It can be worldwide.
It can be, absolutely, but it has to start with self. It has to start with the individual first. That's where it starts.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with self. So that's one of the things that each person has to pledge to do, is to be a part of the peace process themselves.
Yeah,
and when we can do that, then we can have a
Okay, you guys, I've got to go because my show is in a couple minutes. Anybody who wants to hear us talk about global economics and how they affect our lives and how we can affect global economics, please join us on The Female Solution on Blog Talk Radio, or The Female Solution on Facebook, or The Female Solution on YouTube. I hope you can join us. Happy Kwanzaa.
Happy Kwanzaa.
Hi, I'm Naima Latif, executive producer of the Female Solution Radio Show. We invite you to call in 515-605-9325 and participate in this daily think tank as we examine the challenges we face and develop solutions that restore peace and harmony. We are global transformers, changing the world from the way it is to the way it should be. We are one. Wherever we live on this earth, we are one human family. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to extend a greeting to all the members of our family, whenever and wherever you may be listening. To our family in China, Ni Hao. In India, Namaste. In Japan, Konnichiwa. In Korea, Annyeonghaseyo. In Russia, Здравствуйте. In Germany, Guten Tag. In Poland, Dzień dobry. In France, Bonjour. In Spain, Hola. In Italy, Ciao. In Egypt, Asmasafen. In Ghana, Akwaba. In Nigeria, Peleo. In South Africa, Sawubona. In Senegal, Nangadek. In Kenya, Jambo. In Israel, Shalom. In Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Saudi Arabia, Assalamu alaikum. Greetings, and may peace be upon you all.
And grand rising and happy new year. We are live on the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. I'm Naima Latif, executive producer. We have with us our third Saturday host, Deborah, as we move around with Deborah in 2022. And joining us soon will be our Saturday host, Jana, joining us live from London. As we kick off our global push for peace, one of the things we want to remind our listeners and viewers is that peace begins with each one of us. And many of us think that we have to do some major meeting with some government official, but each person participates in this process. So we'll be talking to Princess Adenike Okorede, who is the publisher of the Shekinah International Magazine, from Nigeria, currently living in Chicago, and certainly bringing a global perspective. We know that across the world, we are seeing conflict, and women are the ones that are most impacted. So we want to be able to address not only our role in the process of creating peace, but also how we can reach out to our sisters who are experiencing so much of the unfortunate consequences. And if you are paying attention to the news, you know that there are hotspots all around the world. So we're going to share with you, and let me see if we can share this again. We're going to try to give you this visual image. This piece put together by the women of the UN. And we're going to see if we can bring this up on screen. And let me see here. And then, of course, we'll talk about it. All right. And we're going to try a window, which is this one. Now we're going to try. All right, well, let's just try and try a screen. All right, up window. Okay. Oh, we did it. Okay. All right. Well, let's take a look at this video on UN Women.
Women and girls bear the brunt of conflict. The inequalities that women are subjected to are exacerbated during conflict.
For 2,500 years, war and peace especially was negotiated by a handful of exclusive political and military elite men.
The first paragraph calls for the immediate cessation of hostilities.
It was the end of the Cold War, a period in the 90s. We were beginning to look at the world from a standpoint of human security.
The women's movement came to UN headquarters and said, we would like a resolution whereby women must be part and parcel of peace negotiation, peace building, and make ensure that wars end.
In October 2000, we were to chair the sessions of the Security Council. We decided to introduce an agenda item on women and peace.
There was resistance in the Security Council, there was resistance out of the Security Council, but the overwhelming majority of members were in support.
31st of October 2000, the Security Council recognized for the first time the role that women have been playing.
Those in favor, please raise their hand. The draft resolution has been adopted unanimously as Resolution 1325.
Really brought to light the need for women to play an important role in participation, in negotiation, in preventing conflict.
1325 in many ways is saying that not only women have the right to come to the negotiating table, they should be present. They must be present.
It was always a collaboration between civil society, the UN, and government. Civil society on its own couldn't have gotten this resolution, and the governments and the UN wouldn't have gotten it.
When women are involved, they make a real difference.
Más podemos decir cuál es la necesidad de tener paz. Somos quienes tenemos la vida y los cuerpos marcados por la guerra.
If you exclude more than half of the population in defining the problem and prescribing the solution, you're not going to have stability.
Wherever there's war and violence, women exist. Women have things to tell us. And systematic, structured engagement of women should be standard practice in any international engagement in a conflict area.
This piece stop sharing. Okay. Yes, so this piece of that war has on is to raise awareness so that when we look at what's going on, we realize that these people that are suffering and are struggling. All right. So now let's bring up our switchboard. We've got another piece we want to share with you. And it's difficult when we kind of have a stereotype of people have allowed ourselves to see as ignorant or somehow or responsible for what's happening. So many times when we see poverty and we don't, that is something that has to do with deprivation of opportunities. We can often blame those who are poor and struggling and suffering instead of understanding that there are things that happen that really are beyond people's control. So I want to be more conscious of things that happen when you have places where our jobs disappear, and they're disappearing because sometimes the jobs are going to where there are child laborers. So we want to take a look at child labor, and this is a clip from Uganda. And in many developing countries, child labor is common, and it's often not perceived as a serious problem. But you can imagine what happens when children are given work and adults are out of work and places are impoverished. You can imagine how that could create a serious problem. So we're going to take a few minutes and look at this issue. And let's see if we can screen. And then of course we'll bring up our guest. All right. Oopsie. Make sure we can see you. All right.
When I finished school, I would like to be a pilot.
I would like to be an engineer. I want to be an accountant. I like to become a doctor. When I finished school, I want to be the president of Uganda.
3 years before this recording, these children had no big dreams, no education, no hopes.
Before joining to school, I was working in the restaurant. I was starting from 7 a.m. up to 9 p.m.
Zahara worked in a makeshift restaurant for more than 3 years. Her pay was 2,000 shillings a day, the equivalent of 60 cents of the American dollar.
I was selling sugar canes before coming to school, and I was starting at 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
For 3 years, Raya Abdu became a well-known sugarcane vendor in the village of Chitugulu. Some of the challenges she encountered include bigger people taking advantage of her age to cheat her.
Before joining school, I was washing cars. I would start at 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
For nearly 4 years, Mohamed Bouete was washing the lower parts of the vehicles. He was being paid peanuts. Because of his size, his employers claimed that his labor was worth the cost of washing tires only. Joel Chilwana's name had become synonymous with scrap metal. Combing the garbage dumps and backyards for scrap metals, his daily. In this trade, he was not alone. Ramadan Juma was no exception.
I was collecting scrap for sale from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Child labor is a worldwide phenomenon affecting about 200 million children, nearly 60 million in sub-Saharan Africa, about 3 million in Uganda by the beginning of the second millennium. In 1998, the International Labour Organization's Declaration on Fundamental Principles and Rights at Work was adopted in Geneva. One of the 4 categories of the declaration is freedom from child labor. Among the worst forms of child labor listed in the ILO Convention 182 are slavery, child trafficking and recruitment in armed conflict, child prostitution, drug trafficking, domestic servants, and any such work which may harm the health, safety, and the morals of children. Just as green and fertile for crops and vegetation, the greater part of Uganda is also fertile for all forms of child labor. Mbale and the surrounding districts in eastern Uganda produce about 4,000 metric tons of rice annually, nearly 30% of the rice consumed in the country. Child labor is at the heart of this productivity. Each of these children works all day and earn only 200 shillings, about 12 cents of the American dollar. One of the most challenging assignments in the rice fields is bird scaring. The children work from daybreak up sunset, chasing the birds without rest and without lunch. They are unable to attend school despite the universal primary and secondary education program. But this problem is rampant across rural Uganda. Kampala, the capital city, and all the towns across the country are epicenters of the worst forms of child labor. Child trafficking, commercial sex, child prostitution, and all those listed in the ILO Convention. The Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development has been grappling with the child labor menace for years. Ms. Loima is the acting director in charge of labor administration in the country.
We have had incidents of children, very, very young children, dying together with parents at stone quarries. There are some children who have been or who continue working in Kasese, in the salt areas. You know, that salt is very, very corrosive to the skin. And then, of course, there are all sorts of infections that affect children who work in the streets.
The other risks they face are HIV, AIDS, and other sexually transmitted infections, violence, child abuse, and drug and alcoholic addictions with severe physical, social, and psychological consequences.
Then the other very, very a significant consequence that we may not see easily, especially the poor families, the denial of a child to go to school, their opportunity to go to school is a very, very damaging effect on the future of the child, because that child will never get an opportunity to develop into a productive adult. You know, they lose the opportunity to get education, to get their numeracy, literacy, and functional skills. So they end up becoming, you know, workers, the future poor workers, because they don't get an opportunity to develop skills, and that affects the development of human capital in the country, which we do need.
Since 1999, the Uganda government, together with the International Labour Organization, have been working on a series of activities to implement the International Program on the Elimination of Child Labour, IPEC. One of such interventions was the HIV Child Labor Project in 2008, out of which 1,456 children were withdrawn from child labor. 1,486 were prevented from falling into child labor and also taken to school. boosting the primary school enrollment by nearly 3,000 children. And thanks to the participation of the 4 NGOs working as intermediaries in the implementation of the project.
And so our efforts successful, but the international community has to be responsible for participating thing that encourages labor by companies use, and this means listening when there are certain companies child in the production of their product. Our phone lines now, we have our host, Jana Beth and Jana. Greetings. You can raise the sound of your voice, Jana, loud as possible. I guess turn up my phone as loud as I can. Okay.
But you know,
computer
as well. I'm trying to.
Okay, well, all right, I got all.
And I want to wish everyone here good and happy.
Yes.
Success strategy.
Yes.
To what's happening now.
Yes, can hear you now. We want...
Oh yeah, I can hear you. The echo, yeah. You can hear me. All right, good. Hear me. I can hear you. Welcome to Light Radio and TV Network. Author of Great. Author of Black People.
So let's
and
see.
I host the annual blogging carnival for nonviolence. And I'm your host for the first of every month. Here on Success Strategy Show, we seek to help you find solutions to your problems.
I'm not sure this. If we can fix this.
We're looking forward to tracking what from here. My guest today is Niki Ekoregi, and I really mispronouncing it. She is the publisher of Secular International Magazine. I'm going to turn off my my volume now because there's a big echo. Right now, I can't hear anything.
Okay, so now the echo is gone. So that's good. I think. Okay, so Princess Adenike, are you with us?
Well, I can still hear it. If you can't hear it, then I'm happy. Welcome to my show.
Okay, so we have area code 11111. Can you give us your name and where you're calling from?
Hi. Hotep Kenyatta. I'm sorry, I'm not the prince, even though maybe one day I could be one.
Okay, well, hold on just one moment. We may need to call her by phone. But in the meantime, can you give us your name and where you're calling from?
Hotep calling from the East Coast of America. Sentiments for the new year for Black people, but I don't know. You already have a theme, so my points may not fit in. I'm not sure.
Well, one of the things we're talking about is global economics. We've been taking a look at some of the presentations from other countries where they're experiencing, just like America, some extreme behavior as a result of economic crisis. We just took a look at video on child labor in Uganda. And so we know that a lot of the poverty has to do with the fact that they don't have any child labor laws or any laws against child labor. But because there's a global economy, pardon me, we know that many products that we're using are produced with child labor. And so when companies can go abroad and employ children and take jobs away from adults here, then it has an impact, a domino effect. So we're looking, number one, at being conscious of some of the things that were just talked about, everything from the sex trafficking to the taking children out of school to work in various enterprises, and also the impact of that when it comes to crime. And we know here we're having a severe problem with young people involved in crime, and all of it's tied to economics. So, Jana, you want to elaborate on that whole global economic condition that we're facing?
Oh, yeah. I'll elaborate on the global economic condition. I think we can all elaborate on it. I am not an expert, but yes, children are being exploited. Adults, particularly women, are being exploited, but men are being exploited as well. And I've seen, for example, a documentary where people were going to an African country. It might have been Mali or it might have been Cameroon, but I believe that they border each other. And they were kidnapping people from one country and taking them to the other country and forcing them to grow chocolate. When we eat chocolate, we're enjoying chocolate.
Yes, yeah.
We need to also be mindful of the fact that it may have come from forced labor. These people were kidnapped. They were told, "Yeah, I'm going to find you a job." And instead of being found a job, they were kidnapped and forced to work on farms, harvesting cocoa and growing cocoa. And there is child exploitation right here in London. So we don't need to go very far to find child exploitation. There's child exploitation. There's people working in sweatshops right here in London. There's people working in sweatshops other parts of the UK. And a lot of this started coming out when the global pandemic reached Britain, because a lot of Asian people were contracting the virus, disproportionate to the population. And that's when it started to come out that there's a lot of sweatshops in Asian areas, in Asian parts of the country. Now, in Britain, when we say Asian, we mean people from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, right? South Asia. That's what we're talking about. Because traditionally in the garment district, in the East End of London, we don't call it the garment district, but that's what it is. And they're in other parts of the country as well. So we don't have to go very far to find that people are being exploited. Globalization, as said in one of the films that you just showed, means that jobs were taken away from Western countries and taken to other countries where labor is a lot cheaper. So yeah, we need to be aware of that, because I remember people writing about this in the newspapers in the 70s that it was going to happen. And now it's happening. 50 years later, 45 years later, it's happening. So what can we do about it? And you see, I really believe that change always has to start with the individual. Right? So we can point the finger and say, look at those terrible people. Look at those terrible people. Look what they're doing. They're exploiting people. But actually what they're doing in order to meet their needs. That's what we're trying to meet our needs.
Yes. Everybody's trying to meet their needs.
Yeah, and we have to start with self, right? It's not about pointing fingers at someone else and say, you terrible people, you evil people. That's not going to change anything, okay? That's how wars start. And I do believe that we have wars inside of ourselves, right? Different parts of ourselves are at war with each other. So we have to make peace internally first before we can talk about changing what's going on outside of us.
Absolutely.
And when we change our thoughts, feelings, and emotions, then things change. The conditions change. So it starts with self. It starts with the individual.
That's right. Well, we're going to take a quick break, Jana, and come back. We're going to see if we can connect with our guest. And brother, we'll get your remarks, your comments on that, and your thoughts on this first day of the year, the last day of Kwanzaa, the principle of faith. How can we, using our faith, change the systems that are exploited all around the world, the exploitive ways that we are addressing the world population, which is leading to violence. How can we transform them? And how can we transform, as you said, first of all, ourselves? We'll be right back after this quick break, so stay with us.
Do you want to live in a world without war? Join our global peace movement. Heavenly Culture World Peace Restoration of Light transcends culture, religion, ideology, and other boundaries to achieve peaceful harmony in the global society. HWPL is committed to bringing world peace and cessation of war through peaceful dialogue between religious groups. I am Director Shin-Suk Kim of the HWPL Chicago branch of North America. Join us for our next gathering. Call 773-580-1501 and be a part of the movement for world peace. Email us at chicagohwpl@gmail.com.
Are you constantly arguing with your spouse? Are your children misbehaving and acting out? Someone in your family abusing drugs? Have you been a victim of domestic violence? Are you grieving over the loss of a loved one? Let us help you restore serenity to your life. At Serenity Family Social Services, we understand that good mental health is the result of emotional well-being. Our goal is to assist you and your family in removing emotional distress and restoring harmony and balance to your lives. We offer individual, couples, and family counseling. I'm Howard Williams, CEO of Serenity Family Social Services. Call us today at 312-315-4820. 312-315-4820.
I'm Beata, your holistic life coach. These days, it's more important than ever to work on your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. Are you consciously breathing deeply in stressful moments? Do you have a plan or daily routine to maintain balance in your awesome body? Are you struggling to be disciplined in your eating habits? When you partner with me, I'll help you develop a personalized health plan that works for your particular lifestyle. You can find out more about me at yourholisticlifecoach.com.
Yes, are you
You can
on the
also
switchboard,
review my
or-
3-step protocol to guide you to abundant health. That's yourholisticlifecoach.com.
You're off the air at 2
And
o'clock.
I'm Beata.
That's another. Okay. Okay, great. All right.
What's wrong, baby? What's wrong, baby?
Yeah, hold on, just a second.
Uh-huh. Okay.
All right. Yes, we are back. You're listening to and watching the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. And Johnny, you were going to make a comment? Johnny, you were going to make a comment?
Okay, you right?
Okay, yes. You can do it by phone. You have the number, right?
And Johnny, you were going to make a comment? I think I pretty much said what I have to say right now. But, so. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about this.
Okay.
There's an interesting comment. There's an interesting comment from James Lester on the Facebook page. And he's saying that the global peace movement attacks the colonizers, and then they come up with a virus to counterattack. Leave them alone.
Yes, so that's an interesting comment.
The global peace movement does not attack anyone. If we're talking about attack people, then that's not global peace movement. So I agree with what he's saying. Leave them alone. And I would add to that, we need to work on ourselves, work on cultivating
work on cultivating peace within ourselves. So what do you think?
Well, I think a lot of people don't understand that a peace movement is not the same as a protest movement, because we do have a lot of protest movements. We have marches, we have pickets, we have sometimes riots. That's not a peace movement if you're attacking. A peace movement is something that helps people to communicate peacefully. And maybe at this point, we can take a look at what nonviolent communication is all about. And then we'll look at some of the things that people can do. Before we get into nonviolent communication, I'm going to pull up on the screen here, and I'll share with those who are joining us live on Facebook. But this is a list of ways to participate in the global push for peace leading up to the 2022 International Day of Peace.
Sorry, there's a delay on your voice.
Yes.
I think it's you.
Okay, now we're gonna figure out how to
probably
do this.
because you're on speaker or something's bleeding through.
You know what, Jana? What I'm gonna try to do? Why don't you hang up? And I'm gonna do a two-way call.
Okay. Well, at the moment, I'm on direct connect.
You're that's why we're getting the that's why we're getting the echo.
With direct connect.
Yeah, because.
No, the echo's gone now.
Yeah, I can't hear anyone.
Yeah. Maybe you can. Are you not able to hear? Yeah.
No, we hear you, but the echo that you had is no longer occurring. It was occurring on my voice, so something improved.
Hooray, hurrah, yeah. I can actually hear what you're saying.
Okay.
I can hear one person speaking at a time. It makes a difference. Yeah.
Okay. So whatever you did, that worked. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a list of how to participate in the global push for peace leading up to the 2022 International Day of Peace. Number 1, stand up to acts of hate or hate speech on and offline, meaning say something. If somebody is saying something hateful, don't return a hateful thing with a hateful thing. Say something peaceful to counteract the hateful thing.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the thing is, it's better to say nothing, I think. If you can't come up with a peaceful response at that moment.
Yeah, at least don't add to it. Don't
say nothing at all.
Right. Because,
May I add something?
You go right ahead.
Go for it.
I'm going to be retiring in a few years, and my understanding of peace versus pacifist is that a pacifist is a person that will not aggressively, verbally, nor physically pursue justice, etc., even if they deserve it. For example, Gandhi, even though he had a questionable past, Martin Luther King. Peace is defined as a lack of pain or exacerbation, removal of anything that is causing a problem. So for me now, I'm not talking to anyone on the line, I am at peace if racists come at me and I knock them out. Because if I don't, what occurs is I will no longer be at peace. Okay. And it's the same with finance. If they aggressively try to shut down a community organization, we could use a hostile corporate takeover to try and get back to our peaceful position. So sometimes there are different people that have different ideologies and thinking on peace, but just for me, I think peace means not being taken advantage of, even if someone posts something online and I aggressively pursue verbiage just like they did to say, no, that makes no sense. It sounds stupid, and here are the reasons why, A, B, C, D, because I don't think the KKK, Proud Boys, Aryan Nation, etc.
Name for me. I want to make sure I have it spelled right. Have it spelled correctly.
H-O-T-E-P.
Hotel. Okay. Okay, and what
Okay, well,
and what city you're in, Brother Hotep?
East Coast, Hotep Kenyatta is
East
the
Coast.
name.
I put East Coast. That's good enough. East Coast Hotep. Now, one thing I want to ask you though, Hotep, is a lot of people were not in agreement with King's violence because they felt it was too pacifist, and you have some very groups that some felt that Dr. King was more violence by not retaliating and not doing anything that would present a fear of retaliation, and therefore their criticism of him was that he was actually encouraging violence against those who were peacefully protesting.
King's position one in a smaller circle in a nation that allowed us to oppress. His position should not have trumped Malcolm X's position or Nat Turner's position when he was meaning to survive in a modern, aggressive, violent, psychopathic system to consider peace. Me and I won't see them. But you need a lot more of the people that say, okay, before you even get to hit my face, I'm going to break your arm. That is not in a different system, and peaceful. Dr. King's position much more valid. Don't forget, King was much younger than us so we can respect him, but then I'm almost twice his age. So I have a right to have a lot more experience, especially learning from what he did, what did work and didn't work. So for me, no, peace, someone messes with me, I'm going to try to be polite about it, but if they're not, I will physically, verbally, textually defend myself, my people, my position, and I don't think they'll have the chance to respond because the aggression will cease and desist them for quite a long time.
Well, I can appreciate that point of view, and I think that that's probably one of the challenges for the tactic for Mahatma Gandhi as well as Dr. King, is some people feel like the absence of an aggressive response only emboldens a bully to be more violent. So to others on this list, Jana, tell us a bit about nonviolent communication. The idea is that if you can talk to somebody, you can reason with them, and it doesn't have to get to violence. So how does that work? If somebody calls you a name, they say something really nasty, maybe even threatening, how do you respond with nonviolent communication in a way that would change the dynamics of the situation?
Okay. I'm really glad you asked me that. One of the things I love about NVC, nonviolent communication, is that one person can make a difference. Now, to be very clear, nonviolent communication can make a huge difference, and it made a huge difference in my life. Having said all that, it doesn't always work. I'm just going to put that out there. It doesn't always work. Dr. King's strategy is not a strategy that he came up with. He drew on Gandhi, and Gandhi was actually very manipulative in some ways. So he wasn't really as nonviolent as his reputation. As his reputation goes. But in our Buddhist movement, the Triratna movement, our movement is huge in India and it's growing all the time. And we're practicing nonviolent communication within the context of the Triratna Buddhist movement. NVC is based on empathy. And empathy in NVC is defined as connecting with feelings and needs. So it's not really about talking, it's more about listening. And it's for the feelings and needs that are. So, for example, I'm going to give you a couple simple, straightforward examples. Okay, so like it's so much.
Need for food.
Yeah, need for food. That one is a very simple example. I'm going to give you another simple example. Sorry. Because they're tired, they're expressing.
If they say they're tired, rest, need for sleep. Yeah, need
for sleep. Yeah.
Right.
So this couple of very, very. Someone calls me a name. They're actually, and I could choose to engage with them. So, example, if I wanted, I would necessarily engage. It seems to me that you're intelligent, and I also need for intelligent communication. I also study calling me an inward. So what you're telling me is that right? You want to see things get better. You want to see improvement, and the person might or might not respond to that. But that's how NVC works. And even when it doesn't work within a conflict situation, we can still use NVC on ourselves to process ourselves and let go of, the anger or the pain or the stress of what's going on. This is what has made a huge difference for me. Being able to let go, because I was a very, very angry person. I'm a survivor of childhood abuse, as are many of us. Yes. And I'm still a survivor. I'm still working through my healing process. But NVC is probably the most healing thing that I've found so far. And I've used many, many different methods, and I still do use many different methods. But NVC is the one that I think has helped me the most so far, because it's about, when we connect with our needs, we're connecting with what's most important to us. We're connecting with our life force energy, and that's really profound. That is a really profound experience.
Well, Jana, when you speak of abuse, and Dick Gregory spoke about to violence that happened. One of our viewers, Carolyn Rose, she just had an act of violence happen to her. She said, I'm in rehab for therapy because I was hit by a person in an SUV while I was on my post in Niles, Illinois. As years, of course, she leaves her contact number, 8294. Certainly keep in our prayers. Just happy thing to go through. What day was this? I believe it was day before yesterday. I think on I was driving home and I saw this woman in the street begging. She had one arm missing, so off balance as she was out in the street, and I just came by and hit her, knocked her in the middle of the street. Okay, they kept going. So of course I'm horrified. I got out of my car and over to a place and things like that, got her something to eat and so forth. But I mean, how do you address people who don't have any empathy or sympathy? They can do physically harmful things and they don't care. How can nonviolent communication address someone who has already done something physically violent? Is there a way to say something to stop their action, or say if they hit somebody, to get them to be regretful that they hit them? I mean, is there words that you can use to help somebody feel bad that they hurt somebody?
Well, we talk about the empathy gap, and the empathy gap is basically, are you feeling and are you needing? And the person purpose of the empathy guess is to connect. It's not to guess right. It's not to guess correctly. It's to guess as a way of showing that you want to connect. But not everybody wants. Yeah, it's shocking, isn't it? It's shocking. So I think that what I'm hearing from you is a need for connection, a need for understanding, and a need for safety.
Yes.
Oh, your primary need in that situation. You wanted this woman to be safe, right?
Yes. Yes,
Right?
definitely.
Is that right, Naima?
Yes, I mean there was an elderly woman. Yeah, I wanted her to be safe. I think I would have hoped that everybody else would have cared for her safety, because she could have been hit by another car while she was down on the ground, and then there would have been a fatality.
That's right. So let's go back to your feelings. Okay, so your feelings and your need. Your feeling was basically shock.
Yes.
And your need was a need for safety and also a need for respect.
Yes.
You wanted consideration for this woman. That was really, really important to you.
Yes.
And you wanted this woman's needs to be respected.
Yes.
That's what's going on with you. So that's the first stage of the process of connecting with your own feelings and needs. Then you can make an effort to connect with the other person. So this lady, she needed to be looked after, right? She had a need for care at that moment.
Yes.
And you met that need through your actions.
Yes.
So I think then the question you asked is how would I connect with somebody else's needs? So that is what we call a request. The request in this case is for information or understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're making a request for information or understanding. How can you connect with the other person? Yeah.
Yes. But now she memorized the license plate of the car that hit her, and I rewrote it down. And she said later on, because apparently she wasn't hurt, like injured, where she had to go to a hospital. But she did decide that she was going to call the police later and report it. And my thought was, okay, once she reported to the police, they asked her, "Are you okay?" And she didn't have any broken bones or anything. Would even pursue this person or care, because like, oh well, they're gone, forget about it. I mean, I don't know. And I thought, so would this person learn or change their behavior if nothing happened after they carelessly knocked somebody in the street?
Right, because that's what the lack of empathy is.
Citizens arrest in the if you look at, there's empathy and compassion. There's also a slap to the face, a chop to the neck, broken fingers, a citizen's arrest. In our corner, as black and brown people, it's lethal path. We're in feet. And so I have encountered a person as loving and kind. Well, you would never do it, but who's pushing me or trying to sexually exploit me when I was a child, or punching me in the head, where they stopped when I said "ow," or when I said, "Well, you know, I'm going to understand where you are coming from." It never worked until I started kicking butt, and so those days ended for me. And I try to be as loving and kind and just and noble as feasible. But when the other side, some of you know what I'm saying, comes with the other drama, we need to knock them out.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's
none of that has to do with nonviolent communication. I'm just going to say that, okay? Nonviolent communication is about empathy. It's not about knocking somebody else out. And I'm not saying right or wrong. I'm just saying that's not NVC.
So, Jana, would you say that by the time it's gotten physical, it's probably past the point of NVC, because NVC should prevent the escalation to a point of violence? Would you say? I don't know.
It's not a should. It's not a should, but yes. My personal preference is for it to prevent. I do think that NVC has a lot to do with prevention. Having said that, it's never too late to bring in NVC, because you can always use it to process what's going on with you. If somebody that bullied you, I mean, okay, that's actually not rejected. If someone physically or verbally attacked you, then you know, you've got a need right there for safety. You've got a need for safety, so you connect with that and you do what you see as appropriate. Now, you know, in that moment, sometimes you might feel like you have to use the physical because it's got past the point where NVC is going to be helpful at that moment. I think NVC is a lot to do with prevention. And by the way, Brother Hotep, I completely agree with you. I do partly agree with you about Dr. Martin Luther King, but we need to remember, and this is something that people didn't get at the time, and sometimes people still don't get this, is that Dr. King was in the South, and that was a very, very different situation from the situation that Malcolm X was in Chicago. And you know, Malcolm X knew that, and Martin knew that they were dealing with two completely different societies in a way. Because in the South, if you say something to a white person, they'll probably just kill you. They might just kill you. I mean, I was talking to my dad about this one day because I see this Black History presentation. It might have been Red Tails, I don't remember now. But there was a time when Black British people from the Caribbean were serving in Britain during the war. And African American people were also serving in Britain. And if a white person said something to African American would just walk away. They wouldn't say anything. And the Black guys from the Caribbean were really shocked by this. But what they didn't realize is at that point, if you said something to a white person, the white person probably just kill you. They'll probably just kill you outright. Right? That's the situation that Martin was coming from. Having said that, he didn't actually create that strategy. He adopted it, partly from Gandhi, also the Freedom Riders used this nonviolence thing. And personally, I think if you're putting yourself in the way of violence, that's not nonviolent. That is passive resistance, but it's not nonviolent. Because you're putting yourself in a situation where you know people are going to beat you up and you know you're going to get your head kicked in. As far as I'm concerned, I don't personally see that as nonviolent. Right? That's passive resistance. That's not nonviolent. Yes. NVC is not passive resistance. NVC is very creative. It's a way of responding to the situation and hopefully preventing.
Yeah, I think that's a thing that people didn't always get is the nonviolent direct action tactic
will only create
it was intended to actually draw out the violence, meaning to, in a sense, provoke it, but then not respond to it, and to expose the person who is violent as the perpetrator so that others may see it and be motivated to stop it. Because the idea is that you are beating someone who is not aggressive, and therefore you are the one that's at fault. We got to take another quick break, and we come back. We're going to play a short clip from Dr. King as he speaks on violence, and then we'll be joined by our guest. She said she's going to be able to join us at the 1 o'clock hour, which is for the 7 o'clock hour for you, Jana. And we'll be right back after this quick break. And if you're watching us on Facebook, on the Female Solution Facebook page, feel free to write in your comments. We'll share them with our listening and viewing audience. And we'll be right back after this quick break. So stay with us.
Hey, it's time to take charge of your health. I'm Beata, your holistic life coach, and every Friday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, I'm here on the Female Solution to empower you to make choices that will assist your evolution to abundant health. I'm also blogging every Sunday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time at Soul Purpose Healing, where I bring you a spiritual chiropractic adjustment to bring you back into alignment with our Creator's love, compassion, and wisdom. Join me every Friday morning at 8 a.m. and Sunday evening at 8 p.m. for a time of unity, enlightenment, and love vibration. Shalom.
Have you ever dreamed of going to exotic places, meeting fascinating people, enjoying uplifting music, and spending nights in a luxurious hotel? Do you look forward to a relaxing vacation where you can walk along the beach or sit in a quiet park and enjoy the sunset or sunrise? Whether you're flying around the world or driving across the country, we will share travel tips that will help you stay safe while you enjoy the journey. Join me every third Saturday of the month, 12 noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, and move around with Deborah here on the Female Solution Show. Call in and comment 515-605-9325 and press 1 to speak.
Everything you need, what your body needs, is found in nature. So Susan Essentials doesn't do it any other way. Susan Essentials provides your employees and individuals access to over 20,000 nutritional products, and they are shipped direct to your door. Because Susan Essentials is certified in plant-based healing, we're permitted to offer you the best nutritional supplements on the planet. They're non-GMO and sustainably produced, and we take the guesswork out for you. Let Susan Essentials help you take control of your health today.
Okay, we are back, and you are listening to and watching the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. And, you know, a lot of people don't know the difference between passive resistance, which is when you do allow yourself to get assaulted with violence and you don't respond, and it's for the dramatic effect of having people see who the perpetrator is, and then nonviolence, which of course is a philosophy of living in which you are not the aggressor. And so we are now joined with our guest, Princess Adenike Akorede of Nigeria, publisher of Shekinah International Magazine. Thank you for joining us today on the Female Solution Global Radio TV show.
Thank you for having me. Welcome to the show. Thank you for having me. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Yes. Well, you have a phenomenal magazine, and I think we first met when you were involved in some global efforts for peace and justice, a downtown march in Chicago. But tell us about your efforts as a publisher of this magazine. What is your thrust in order to give people some understanding, help to change behavior, help to improve relationships? You know, what is your overall goal?
Thank you so much. I remember we met at downtown Chicago during Bring Back Our Girls.
Yes.
Back Our Girls, when some of our children were kidnapped by Boko Haram.
Yes.
Boko Haram is an organization that does not favor education. Boko means book. Haram means abomination.
Bad.
Book is abomination. That women should not go to school. And we all know that if you don't give children education, you've taken away their future.
Yes.
Especially girls who will grow to be women. And we all know that women are the bedrock of each family. We women are the bedrock of every family. So we need to come together and fight, to educate our children, both men and women, so they can do whatever, they are ordained to do, especially for fulfilling destiny.
Yes.
So that is what we actually do. Our effort as GA geared into empowering women, empowering youth, so they can go out there and empower other people. So teach one, and that one you teach must go there and teach others.
Well, our guest, our host today, Jana, who's joining us live from London, England, she had a guest on, I guess a couple of months ago, a sister, I forgot Mercy's last name, but she has an organization that addresses domestic violence. And one of the things that really horrified me is that Mercy said that within the law, it states that a man may beat his wife. And I was just horrified to hear that. So
Nigeria, apparently. Yeah.
Yes.
In Nigeria, no, there is no law that says. Hello?
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I don't believe there's a law in Nigeria that allows the man to beat, his wife. I don't agree to that. But the only thing I know about Nigeria, especially the Muslim men, they say they can marry they can marry like 4 wives, but the women have to submit. They have to allow their husband to marry 4 wives, which I disagree, because according to the Quran, you can marry 2 wives, 3, 4 wives, if only you can love them equally. And if the women agree to it, the women have to agree to it. You can't just go and marry somebody. Absolutely. And tell me something. Let me ask us on this panel. Are you able to love 2 women equally?
Well, I don't know. We've had some very, very intense conversations about that, particularly because that allowance of multiple wives has been so misunderstood. It came after a severe war had decimated all the male population. So the purpose of it was to find a way that the children would have families and the women would have support during that time of rebuilding the community. But I think if the overall attitude of men is exploitive and contemptuous of women, then they're going to take whatever the rule in society is and express what's in their hearts, which is contempt for women.
Right.
So that's so.
Where do they learn this contempt for women? Where do they learn it from?
That's the question. Now, every male that I've spoken to that has committed, and I've talked to some who've been to jail, they've committed crimes of rape, assault, and all of that. And as we talked, and I'm just, trying to get information. It stems from their anger at their mother, and sometimes it's anger. And matter of fact, maybe Beata might join us because she even shared a story with, a man who had gone to prison. He was a serial rapist, and he was angry at his mother.
Mm-hmm.
And he was angry at his mother because I guess she had a lot of men in her life, and she didn't protect his innocence, I suppose. I think I've talked to people who maybe their mothers either abused them or allowed them to be abused by a boyfriend. But it was always this intense anger at women, usually stemming from anger at the mother because of some unresolved thing that happened. And so now this person really has contempt for women. So even whatever religion they join, they bring that contempt with them, and they interpret whatever the rules are as a permission for them to abuse women. And I've seen it in Islam, I've seen it in Christianity, I've seen it in I've even seen it in Buddhism. Even though all of these religions are supposed to be peaceful, but if you're not peaceful on the inside, then you can't even see the peace in the religion that you say you're following.
That's right. That's right. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean, the Buddha taught that we should be compassionate to everyone. But if you haven't resolved some of your internal conflicts, how can you be? You're not ready. You're not ready. I mean, we all make mistakes, and this is what I'm saying as well about not pointing the finger, because we all do things sometimes that are not conducive to peace. But we have to try and learn from our mistakes.
Can I add that typically the men that I know and I've interacted with significant amount from 5% is Nation of Islam, Sunni, Shia, Catholic, atheist, all kinds, street brothers to geeks in the corporate world. The big factor when some of them, not all, have abused women is they have been taught that the woman is not on the same level as the man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that teaching, it isn't I haven't met any that have said they did it because of anger to their mother. They did it because it was an opportunity, because they have been conditioned that females are inferior to men. Therefore, in seeing the songs, the movies, the way women are typically portrayed, especially in the Black community, that all adds to this opportunity they see to hit the woman, beat the woman, put the woman on the streets as their for sale income source. So society itself has some issues, and I think people just emulate what society indoctrinates them in, and then of course they go to jail if they act out on what society has taught them. Yeah.
So we are society. Society is us. We are society. We're the ones that can bring about positive change. Am I right?
So I got a question, Jana, because I remember with that whole Boko Haram thing, the men were claiming that they were protecting the morals of the women because of what happens in the West, where women are, put out on the street and, prostitutes and everything. So their whole thing was, we're protecting the women, that we're shielding them from this false Western education that's corrupting them. We're keeping them pure and all of that sort of thing. And the And so that was their excuse. So I want to ask Princess Korede. Is that a Nigerian distorted male attitude? What does that thought come from? That we need to control you and keep you uneducated so that we can protect you from sexual exploitation. What are your thoughts about that?
No. Capital no. That's not Nigerian attitude at all.
Okay.
That is something.
Have been very keen on education. They've been very keen on education.
May I say this? This has been sent to religion because they feel that when women are educated, the women will have the same rights that they do have. So they want the women to be relegated to the background on the ground of religion. So they cannot, but thank God for gender, equality programs that are springing up from all over the world now. Apart from the fact that they don't want them to be like the Western women, in the Western world that we are educated, we compete, favorably with the men. They don't want that, but it has to. Their main thing is about religion, so they can continue. Like I told you about the injunction in the Quran, they will not. That's why education is very important. Ignorance is a disease. They will not quote the Quran according to according to how it is written in the Quran, that you must love them equally. I tell you what, it is now time. Yes.
Does the Quran also require education?
Yes, it does.
The Quran requires education.
It does require education.
Thank you. The Quran.
Right.
Thank you. But because of the ignorance of some people who don't know the Quran, they just use that the injunction that men are supposed to marry more forward. So now I challenge them. Right. Whenever we get to some discussions or seminars and workshops like that, I tell them, why don't you just give us the full verse of that Quran that says you must love them equally. But guess what? A lot of people, majority of the women in the north, Muslim women, they are not educated. And they remain submissive.
You're taking them to school at a young age, so they're not able to complete their education.
Some of them are not actually educated by the time they get to 10, from 8 years old. They are already betrothed. You know what I mean? They are already given in marriage.
Yeah.
In marriage to even older men that is older than their fathers.
This is what Mercy was. She was married to someone who was older than her own father.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what
she was 17 when she married. She was married to someone who was older than her own father.
Like 50 something, yeah.
Is it?
So Princess Adenike, would you say? So Princess Adenike, would you say that child marriages are a form of child abuse?
I will agree with you. I think it is because let me. If somebody gives you something that you did not labor for, how will you use it? That something that you did not labor for, something that you did not suffer to get, you won't value it.
Right.
Am I right?
Right.
It is something that you suffered for. It is something, for instance, a guy wants to marry me and I jump into that marriage. You think I will get something useful from that marriage? No. The guy has to work. The guy has to do he should do the talk and he should talk the truth.
Right. Right.
Get me.
Has to woo you, yeah.
And whatever you work for, you value it. And that is why there is always trouble in Nigeria, because this Islamic oligarchy want to continue to dominate, to the detriment or at the detriment of the younger ones. That's why we have several organizations springing up
these days in Nigeria for women liberation, child girl liberation.
But let me ask you something, right? Because not all Muslims exploit women or oppress women or girls, right? Not all forms of Islam do that. So why do you think that it's prominent in somewhere like Nigeria, for example? This attitude towards women.
No, it's not. I would say that's not Nigerian attitude.
Okay.
It's a sectional, it's a section from Nigeria.
Okay.
That section believes, or the tribe. I tell you something. Nigeria as a country has 3 major tribes: the Hausas, the Yorubas, and the Igbos.
Sure.
The Igbos are very educated. Same thing with the Yorubas. I tell you what, I showed my dean, I happen to be a professor. I showed my dean a video of one of the educated elite in Nigeria who was fighting for girl child education in the north. In the outer community. Do you know what they did to that guy? Because they don't want it's like maybe 30% of 100% is educated. And they want to continue to relegate those, the 70%, not to be educated, so they can be in charge of everything.
Right. So they can control.
So this guy who is more educated, is schooled abroad, he raised an alarm about girl child education. Do you know what they did? They stripped him off of his title, of his post.
Wow.
I can send it to Naima. Yes. I can send it. I can send the link to Naima so she can go. She should go and listen to this. I allowed my dean to listen. She was like, what? When this guy speaks, you know that this is westernized, educated men. They stripped him, and he's even in the same tribe.
So would you say it's the Hausa men who are more repressive of women? Are those the ones?
Majorly.
Wow.
I'm not saying the Yorubas or the Igbos. It's like maybe 10% or 5%, because these people are abroad. I give you an example. I've been in America for about 20 years. Do you know, since I've been in America, I met only 2 outside people.
Wow.
Right.
So they won't come here
Only 2.
because it's too liberating.
They're not coming. Why? Because they have been indoctrinated.
Wow.
Majority of them don't want to go to school. Yes, ma'am.
I've got a question for you, which is this, right? Because I believe that within Arab countries, a lot of the things that are attributed to Islam are actually things that predate Islam, that they're part of the culture. Would you say that is true with the houses as well?
Good question.
Will I say what?
Would you say that the way that women are treated, for example, the lack of education, you would say that is something that predates Islam? Islam is basically used as an excuse.
I think that's a good question. I think it predated Islam. I think it's their culture. So they bring the culture into Islam, and they introduce the same culture to other people. I tell you something. Do you know what it is?
They believe that it's Islam, but it really isn't. It predates Islam.
No. It's their culture that they imbibe into Islam. Do you know what is happening?
Yes, ma'am. With FGM as well. That they believe, a lot of people believe that FGM is required by Islam, but it's not.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. That's another thing. Because all of that's cultural. With the female circumcision, all of that is cultural. It has nothing to do with the religion, but when people adopt a religion, then they add that to it because they were already doing that anyway.
It doesn't. Do you know what is happening in Nigeria now?
No, what is happening now?
The Islamic extremists, they are now in Nigeria. They said they want to Islamize Nigeria.
And what does that mean? Does that mean to make it more peaceful, or does that make it more repressive toward women? What do they mean when they say they want to Islamize it? What do they define that as?
Their mission is to turn Nigeria into an Islamic country.
Okay.
And they are killing.
So what would that look like?
You know something else? If you remember a few years ago, Boko Haram swore allegiance to the people. I can't remember what they're called now, but you know the people in Syria. The Taliban.
Thank you.
The Taliban.
Boko Haram swore allegiance to the Taliban a few years ago. You remember that?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. No, we have Boko Haram in Nigeria. We have the ISWAT in Nigeria. We have all those organizations fighting for Islam in Nigeria. They are killing people. They're taking over their land. They said they are Islamic imperialists. They're killing. They're burning. You remember when Boko Haram started? What they started with was burning churches, killing Christians.
Yes.
I don't know if you follow the trend. They were killing Christians. They were burning their churches. Now they have other group with them. And they do the same thing. When you go to the Igbo tribe, they're fighting them. They are killing the Igbos. They are now, going to the Yorubas, to the west. They were
mostly Igbos are Christian. Is that right?
Thank you, my sister. Igbos are mostly Christians. Now they are killing them. Right now, the Igbo people started, I think, two groups now. They are trying to get themselves equipped with weapons. Fight them.
The Igbos or the Hausa?
The Igbos to fight
fight back.
The Hausas who have joined themselves with to fight the Boko Haram, with ISWAT, with all this how do I put this? All these people in Saudi Arabia, in the Middle East, who are fighting for religion.
The jihadist
Remember the
people.
ones that America was fighting with?
Yes.
The ISIS,
the Taliban and ISIS. Yeah.
Taliban. Now they said they are now in Nigeria. They are all over in Nigeria, killing people, taking over. Guess what? They went to a school to abduct young children, elementary school. To abduct, to kidnap. Now they are kidnapping like crazy.
Forcing them into the military.
They're protecting the purity of these young children, are they?
They're not protecting the purity. They kidnap them. They have sex.
But that's the excuse.
No, I'm just saying that's their excuse, right? That's their excuse. They're protecting the purity of these young children.
No. It's no more excuse, my dear. No more excuse.
Oh, they just saying we just straight up taking over. Wow.
They don't want anything except Islam.
Wow.
Some Yoruba Muslims, they dissociate themselves from them. They say they are not part of their Muslim.
Right.
Wow. Well, we got to take our last break. Hold that thought. We got to take our last break, and when we come back, Jana, let's take a look at can we as women talk to each other globally? And I don't know if there's a way to encourage some kind of resistance to that, or are women too afraid to speak out? And we'll talk about that when we come back. You know, what happens when you're a part of a community where women have collectively agreed to allow abuse. How do you stop it? We'll be right back after this quick break. So stay with us. And we've got some calls on the line. So we'll be right back after this quick break.
Hi, this is John Alexander.
And I'm Naima Latif. Meet
people like you who are making a positive difference in the world. Watch us every day on The Media Connection at www.youtube.com/The Media Connection TV.
YouTube it. We'll see you soon.
There are people who choose to make a positive difference in the world. Our job is to bring you their stories to motivate you to do the same. Join us each week, host John Alexander and Naima Latif, as we bring you the educators, entertainers, elected officials, religious leaders, and community activists whose works are transforming this world. Find out how you can make a difference too. Be inspired. Watch The Media Connection. Mondays at 5 p.m. and Tuesdays at 12 noon on Cable TV, Channel 19 in Chicago. And other cities, check your local cable listings.
For Social Solutions with Dr. Debbie Green on Thursday at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time and 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to hear great topics and stories on grief and turn it into victory. Join Dr. Debbie Green to listen to stories of triumph and learn how to overcome. You are not alone in your life, and there is hope in the darkest hour. This is your time to learn strategies and solutions to improve your life. It's your time. So join Dr. Debbie Green with Soulful Solutions and call in on Thursday at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time and 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time at 515-605-9325 with comments and questions. Let me look to hear from you real soon.
We have an opportunity to transform the whole global society in the next 50 years. 50 years from now, the earth will be populated by a new generation of adults, many of whom are yet unborn. Our mission is to nurture them in childhood with love, guidance, and protection, and to raise them in healthy, happy families. If we impart values of compassion, generosity, and respect for fellow human beings in the next generation of children, they will create a world where people can live together in peace. This is our goal. Be a part of the transformation. Get your copy of the book, The Female Solution. Go to www.naimalatif.com. That's www.naimalatif.com.
All right, we are back. Before we continue our conversation, I'm going to play this short clip of Dr. Martin Luther King as he speaks of violence and understanding peace. So, hold on one second. Let me. Oh, wait a minute.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Hold on. All right. Now let me play this quick clip of Dr. King, and then we'll talk about the whole issue of violence and violence against women, and how do you resist violence peacefully? Can you? Okay. So we're going to share this window. All right.
Violence will only create more social problems than they will solve. That in a real sense it is impractical for the Negro to even think of mounting a violent revolution in the United States. So I will continue to condemn riots and continue to say to my brothers and sisters that this is not the way. Continue to affirm that there is another way. But at the same time, it is as necessary for me to be as vigorous in condemning the conditions which calls persons to feel that they must engage in riotous activities as it is for me to condemn riots. I think America must see that riots do not develop out of thin air. Certain conditions continue to exist in our society, which must be condemned as vigorously as we condemn riots. But in the final analysis, a riot is the language of the unheard. What is it that America has failed to hear? It has failed to hear that the plight of the Negro poor has worsened over the last few years. It has failed to hear that the promises of freedom and justice have not been met. And it has failed to hear that large segments of white society are more concerned about tranquility and the status quo than about justice, equality, and humanity. And so in a real sense, our nation summers of riots, all of delay. And as long as America postpones justice, we stand in the position of having these recurrences of violence and riots over and over again. Social justice and progress are the absolute guarantors of riot prevention.
All right. So that is Dr. King and social justice. Certainly, that's what's missing in many of the situations, especially when we can see the kidnapping of young girls is most definitely a violation. So the question becomes, how do we fight? How do we fight back? Is there something that can be said that could change the behavior, especially knowing that it's so heavily backed up by religious beliefs, by long-time cultural practices? So I don't know. Is there a way to stop this? Princess Adenike, what are your thoughts on that? Oh, let me make sure I open your mic. What are your thoughts on that? Is there a way to change behavior? And then we'll got some calls on the line. We'll open your mics as well. Is there a way to change behavior when there's long time cultural practice of violence toward women?
Oh, there should be several ways, but you know, there is always I want to say that the very first thing to do is for women to be careful and be watchful, and cry out, speak out,
speak
Talk
out.
to somebody.
Now,
yes,
this is
all need to. Okay.
Okay, now this is a thought I have, and I'll open the mics. We've got some callers on the line. But what I've observed and even experienced to some degree, when you are a part of a community where women have been conditioned out of fear of social disapproval and maybe even beating from their husbands, I don't know. But if women have been conditioned to stay silent and not speak out, how do you break the silence? Because we've all known situations where someone was either sexually assaulted within a family and the family pressured them not to say anything. Might have been assaulted by a prominent member of the society and they were pressured not to say anything. So how do you break the silence if you don't get backup from other women? How would you address that? So, Jana, you have any thoughts on that? What happens if you're the lone woman out there speaking out and other women are too frightened to back you up?
I think you know the answer to what I'm going to say, right? You know what I'm going to say. But I mean, I think if you just talk to one other woman, right? You might know someone, or you might hear of someone, you might meet someone who has been through something similar. Even if you talk to one other woman, that's a start. That's the start, and I think it's really important to start and keep going. There are loads of organizations that are springing up, including Mercy's
organization, yes.
charity, the amazing Amazon Initiative.
Yes.
There are loads of women's organizations that are starting up. You might be able to get in contact with them. If you go to Facebook, you can find Mercy, you can find the amazing Amazon Initiative, or you can find them on oh gosh, what is that social media platform called? Instagram, that's it.
Oh, yes.
You find them on Instagram. Yeah, the amazing Amazon Initiative. So that's the thought. Even if you talk to them, they might be able to put you in touch with someone else. But if you are trying to find people to talk to, you might find out that you are the one who's going to have to be initiating a conversation. But never think that you're the only one who's going through it, because you're not.
So,
those are my thoughts.
So we got some callers on the line. Let me open the mic and get some thoughts. And area code 314-677, Grand Rising. Happy New Year. Give us your name, where you're calling from, and your comments.
Happy New Year.
New Year to you.
Yankee. Happy New Year.
And hope you're warm up there in Chicago. And when you talk about these women, what country? Surely you're not talking about the United States.
Talk about
women here in the U.S.
It happens in every country.
Yes.
Well, no, it doesn't happen to the degree in every country. In Muslim countries, they have a certain prescribed thing. If a man is on the down low, that is married and having sex with another man, he gets hung. That doesn't happen in the United States. It's encouraged. You got two men that marry one another. Black women over 30 years aborted over 20 million black babies. That doesn't happen in Muslim countries. That doesn't happen in other countries that I know of.
Oh, it probably does. We just don't hear about it. But it probably happens. We just don't hear about it.
Well, then, if you don't hear about it, it may be double that amount. But I don't know of any myself. And when you had Obama going to African countries and refusing to give them aid, he refused to give Nigeria the technology that they needed in order to fight Boko Haram. Trump did. He said because of their human rights violation. What he was meaning, same-sex marriage and also abortion on demand. He went to Kenya. The Kenyan president told him, don't bring that here. Sharif in Liberia said, don't bring that here. So you talk about some human problems. You talk about the war, the Biafra War between the Yoruba Christian and the Igbo. You had pregnant women whose bellies were split, the baby fall on the ground, they would stop. You had babies that were taken by their ankle or head smashed up against rocks. You had babies that were drawn up in the air to come down and be impaled on swords. All sorts of things go on. Even to the day, in certain areas of Nigeria, you could get human flesh for cuisine if you want. That's human beings that do these things.
So, Pianki, as you pointed out, these are human beings who do these things, and these are things that are abhorrent, they are abusive, they are cruel, they are oppressive, and these are human rights abuses. So we were talking specifically about the situation in Nigeria where Boko Haram did not want the girls to go to school. Their philosophy was very oppressive. And we were speaking of how do you overcome that kind of oppression. And the clip we just played from Dr. King, when he speaks of the fact that when you don't stop oppression, then of course it erupts into violence. But when it's oppression of male against female, how are females supposed to stop male oppression, especially because men are the physically stronger sex? And unless we, develop, hard bodies and become Amazon women and make a deal with a nation that's doing weaponry. We don't have those tools to stop that kind of violence. So I think you had mentioned before that your wife was from Nigeria. So is that and our guest, Princess Adeneke Korede, was speaking about the fact that these attitudes have been culture and have been happening long before the religious divides. But is, in your opinion, and based on whatever your wife told you what her experience was, is that a Nigerian attitude of oppressing women? Is it a general male attitude? Is it an individual thing? Does it come from men who hate their mothers? What causes that? What causes men to be cruel to women?
It's something that's in the culture, and also what you look at as being cruel may not be as cruel to them.
Oh, cruelty is cruelty.
People are different. How do you think as Black Americans, how do you think that Africans got to the United States? They got to the United States because they was expelled and gotten rid of. And long before they started coming to the U.S., they was going other areas in direction. I mean, it's just...
No, they weren't expelled. They were enslaved.
No, they were not. They was expelled. You know, it's one thing about blacks. They always want to argue these things because they don't sound right. And not all,
you always think you know better than everyone on the radio.
Here's the thing.
And you're proving again that some men are pretty arrogant and ignorant and take over an entire show and distract.
I'm going to stop you there. Like, can we please speak to each other with respect? Even if we disagree with each other, can we please speak to each other with respect?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You know, you talk about the education.
Disrespecting everybody. Bye.
Some people ain't never been there, and they want to argue with folks.
Okay, can we stop, please? Can we stop? Because this is not.
And I'm sorry. And I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Princess.
Some of these things. We all have some feelings, but you know what? We need to try and just be patient with each other. We aren't necessarily going to agree, and that's okay. We don't have to agree. That's okay.
No, you don't have a bully come on and then step back and say sorry. No, impossible. He's disrespecting everyone on the line, taking the conversation somewhere else, and no one is standing up to him and telling me to step back because he's being offensive. A man defending women is being told to step back and let the other man bully everybody.
No, I'm telling everybody to just calm down and please speak to each other with respect.
Well, why about telling him to jump to us with respect?
Sorry?
Why not tell him? Why me? The one defending the female.
Both of you. I said it to
but it's not both. He's the one that started it.
Well, I don't really care who started it at this point.
Okay.
I still want everybody to speak to each other with respect. That means everybody. Everybody on this call. Now, do you want respect? Do you want to be spoken to with respect? Okay, I'm not hearing a response, so I'm just going to guess that that's something that we all want, right? Respect is an example of need, and it's a need because we all have it, right? So we may not agree with each other, and we're not going to. We're not going to agree with each other, and that's okay. We can still speak to each other with respect and listen with respect. Would anyone like to add something here?
Is my mic still open?
Okay, we can hear you. Yeah.
Is the princess still on? I'm sorry, Princess. I didn't greet you the correct way. But you know, Naima, you asked that question. The question is that you do the best that you can, and the right thing amongst your own family. That's where it has to start at. And if you do right upon your own family, and they take those examples, others will see it and maybe want to join in or mimic it. That's the closest and the most process thing that you can do. Things that's going on in other parts of the world, that's beyond your control.
Well, you know what? Sometimes families can be very, very toxic, so we may not be able to start there. Some people can start with their families. I would not start with mine personally. And I believe that Black families are very, very damaged because of centuries of oppression. We're very damaged and we still have a lot of healing to do. So I believe it has to start with yourself first. Start with yourself. You start with your own healing, and we will inevitably attract others that we can work with. But it has to start with self.
I agree.
I agree with you. it started with self and that structure of family. If that structure of family is not there, then you have what you have. You have a lot of confusion. And I don't think that King was, in his speech, I think the King was upholding the riots. The riots that we've seen here in the United States in the last couple of years, those could have been easily stopped if the authorities in those cities had used the methods that they had at their disposal to stop it. That was just terrible. It was actually insulting. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Brother Bianchi. We appreciate you. I'm going to open the mic for, I believe we've got Minister Robert Floyd Plump on the line. Thank you for
welcome to the show. Welcome.
All right, Grand Rising and Wayo and Shalom and Happy New Year's and Assalamu Alaikum to everyone, and especially Happy Kwanzaa to all of you throughout Chicago, America, and the world.
Yes.
Robert Floyd Plump. I just want to chime in and say, collectively, it is our time now as a people, but it is especially Black woman's time. And Brother Minister Plump is going to be uplifting the Black woman all the time in every direction, all over the world, simply because it's unity time. And Kwanzaa equals to 23. And thank God again, we're in it to win for the female solution and giving me this little time. And I want to let you know we're going to be at Naima at the National Black Wall Street, Chicago tomorrow, continuing in the struggle, the movement, and the coalition. Remembering Dr. King said we can all be great if we just serve. And we're going to be there. That's this Sunday to tomorrow, January the 2nd, from 2:30 to 4:30. And I like to see as many and all of the community members come out at 4655 South Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Drive to room 203 to uplift the Black woman. See, if you don't say nothing, then you're not going to do nothing.
I like that. You don't say nothing, you're not going to do nothing. However the grammar goes.
And we're going to listen to the Black woman, okay? And we're going to uplift the Black woman because it's our time now, Naima. Okay?
Well, we thank you so much. As always, we thank you, Brother Plump. And that's in Chicago he's referring to, of course, for those who are in another city. The princess had to leave us, and she did, of course, say thank you for the opportunity to speak. I think one of the challenges that we have, and one reason why, I could have closed the mics when they start arguing, but I wanted us to see an example, as Jana showed, of how you deal with NVC, when people are needing to listen and needing to come to a point of peace.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I'm really glad that you did that. I'm really glad that you allowed that to happen. I'm not entirely sure I handled it the way I wanted to handle it, but I'm learning, and I'm still learning. It's a learning process.
Well, I think they demonstrated the challenge that we have. Male energy is often very aggressive and confrontative. And there's a clash until either somebody someone backs down, and one caller stepped away, and then, or there's a clash until if they're in physical proximity to each other, there's a verbal clash until it becomes physical. So if NVC is to stop it from getting to that point of a physical confrontation, or if it's over the phone, if it's to get to a point, as you were getting them to get to a point of respect, speak to each other respectfully.
Yeah.
Someone has to control themselves and bring themselves back to a level of respect.
Yeah, sometimes it's easy to do if you're upset about something. If you're upset, if you've been triggered by something that somebody said, it's not always that easy. That's when we need to go within and connect within with our needs. That's why I said to the brother, do you want respect? And he didn't respond. But respect is an example of the need, because we all want respect. Everybody wants that, right?
Yes. He wanted you to reprimand the other person. But the thing is, like you said, it doesn't matter who started it. And I think that's the issue when we're striving for peace. It doesn't matter who started it. Someone has to have the maturity to bring the peace.
And we all have the power to end it. We all
Yes.
have that power.
We all have the power to
And
end it. I think that's the greatest lesson we can learn. Well, I want to thank you all. And of course, thanks to our first Saturday of the month host, Jana. Join us again tomorrow, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern. Whatever time it is in your area, just look at the global clock. And we're going to get back here again for Soul Purpose Healing with Beata. And of course, join us on Monday morning from Monday Morning Mindfulness with Zelda Speaks. We're continuing for 2022, our global push for peace. And thank you all so very much. And we look forward to seeing you next.
Your Highness, thank you so much for joining us. And I would love to have you on again.
Absolutely.
Love to have the princess on again to talk about this.
Yes, we'll continue. We'll continue next month with Success Strategies with Jana. All righty.
The-Female-Solution. You can also hear today's show on the Female Solution Facebook page. Go to www.facebook.com/thefemalesolution. Leave your comments about today's show. You can always reach me on my website at 90seconds.naimalatif.com. That's www.naimalatif.com. Watch our TV shows, listen to our radio shows, order our books, and be sure to get your copy of the book, The Female Solution. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussion. And to our global family listening from all around the world, 60 seconds, say thank you. To our family in China, Sheshe, India, Zanyaba, Japan, Arigato, Korea, Kamsahamnida, Russia, Spasiba, Germany, Danke, Poland, Dziękuję, France, Merci, Spain, Gracias, Italy, Grazie, Egypt, Shukran, Ghana, Medasi, Nigeria, Eshe, South Africa, Nyabonga, Senegal, Jared, Kenya, Asante, Israel, 10 seconds, Pakistan, Shukriya, Afghanistan, Tashakur, Saudi Arabia, Shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you. And may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings.